Do you wake up with a tight chest or a restless mind and wonder how to feel steady again? This audiobook shows clear practical steps to calm your body, sharpen your focus, and build habits that last. You will learn simple breathing techniques that lower stress in minutes and short daily routines that create real change over time. Each chapter gives specific actions you can use right away to improve decision-making, control emotions, and grow stronger every day. Expect exercises you can finish in 1-minute routines you can keep for a month, and questions that reveal what actually matters to you. You will also discover how to test limiting beliefs with real evidence, how to set clear rules that remove confusing choices, and how to design your day so work feels purposeful and calm. If you want tools that work and a clear path to steady improvement, stay with this guide and try one short practice now and another tomorrow to see the difference for yourself. Chapter 19. Master daily focus and habits to transform your inner world. You are capable of changing your life by training attention, building habits, and making steady small improvements every day. The first hour of your day will shape the rest of your day more than any brief burst of motivation. The way you respond to a single distraction will define your capacity to handle the next distraction. Control over the inner world is simple in concept and demanding in practice, and mastery begins with deliberate daily focus and habits that you can follow without relying on willpower alone. This chapter gives clear steps that you can apply immediately to strengthen attention, build habits that last, and design a life that supports calm, steady progress. Start by noticing what actually happens in your day. For 3 days, track the moments when you get distracted and write down what happened immediately before and immediately after. Record the time of day the distraction occurred, what triggered it, and how long it pulled you away. Do not judge the notes, simply observe. This simple inventory reveals patterns. You will find repeated triggers like messages at certain times, social media during low energy after lunch, and open browser tabs in the evening. The purpose of this inventory is to replace vague promises with accurate information. When you know the pattern, you can change the pattern. Create a clear morning anchor that is practical and achievable. Choose one thing to do every morning for the next 30 days without fail. It can be 5 deep breaths and writing 3 short lines in a journal, or 20 minutes of quiet reading of a book that improves skill, or 40 minutes of focused work on the most important project. The key is consistency and non-negotiability. Protect this anchor as if it were a scheduled meeting with someone critical to your future. Place the anchor at the start of your day, before email, social feeds, and random decisions. When your day begins with a focused action, you set a baseline for attention that carries into everything else. Use short focused sessions to train attention. Work in focused blocks of time and take short breaks. Try a cycle of 25 minutes of single task focus, followed by 5 minutes of movement or breathing for 2 or 3 cycles, and then take a longer break. During the focus block, close tabs, silence notifications, and remove physical objects that invite distraction. Keep a simple notepad beside you to jot down non-urgent thoughts that surface so they do not pull you away. The combination of deep single-task work and short scheduled breaks reduces cognitive fatigue and trains the mind to return to work after small diversions. Design clear rules for decision-making that reduce daily friction. A rule might be no social media before noon, or no email before finishing 2 hours of focused work. A rule might be to decide clothing the night before, or to batch all phone calls into 2 blocks each weekday. Rules reduce the number of tiny decisions that drain attention and energy. Each eliminated choice is a small win that adds to your capacity for more important decisions. Keep rules simple, limited in number, and aligned with what matters most. Practice the brief grounding routine that resets the inner state when stress or distraction arrives. Stop for 3 slow breaths, notice the physical sensations in the body, name the most pressing thought, and take one small observable action toward the next step. This routine takes 30 seconds and interrupts habitual reactivity. The breathing slows the heart rate, the naming converts vague anxiety into an object to handle, and the small action moves the mind from reaction into controlled movement. Use this grounding routine whenever strong emotion or distraction threatens to derail you. Build a minimal environment that supports focus. Remove obvious distractions from your workspace. Keep only the tools you need for the task at hand. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Use a simple timer and a dedicated workspace if possible. The environment is not a cure for weak habits, but it reduces friction and primes attention. Pay attention to lighting, seating, and noise control. A small change like a more comfortable chair or a lamp placed behind your screen can reduce physical stress and make it easier to remain present. Use implementation intentions to lock in behavior. An implementation intention is a sentence that states what you will do when a specific cue happens. For example, when my alarm rings at 6, I will sit on the edge of the bed, take 2 deep breaths, and open my journal to write 1 line about what matters. Or, when the clock hits 9:30, I will close email and work on the highest value task for 30 minutes. Implementation intentions bridge intention and action by pre-deciding the first step. They remove the mental negotiation that often kills good intentions. Turn focus training into sensory practice. Use the senses to anchor attention. During a focus block, notice the sensation of your feet on the floor, the pressure of your hands on the keyboard, the sound of breathing. Naming sensory details grounds attention in the present moment and reduces drifting thoughts. These small sensory anchors are practical and immediate. They are available in any situation and do not require special equipment or belief. Practice for 2 weeks, and you will notice the ability to stay present for longer stretches. Use micro-habits to create momentum. A micro-habit is a tiny habit that takes less than 2 minutes to complete. Examples include writing 1 sentence, reading 2 pages, or doing 5 push-ups. The micro-habit is not the end goal. It functions as a gateway to longer action. When you commit to do the smallest possible version of the desired behavior, you remove the friction that prevents starting. Over time, the micro-habit grows into a larger routine because starting becomes automatic. Choose a micro-habit related to your highest priority and do it every day for 30 days. Practice single tasking and explicit task transitions. List the tasks you will do and perform them one at a time. At the end of each task, take a 30-second transition ritual such as stretching, drinking water, or a breath practice before moving to the next task. This ritual tells your nervous system that the prior activity is complete and it is safe to shift focus. Without an explicit transition, your attention tends to drag elements from the prior task into the next, causing scattered work and slow progress. The transition ritual reduces cognitive residue. Keep a decision budget and spend it on high-return choices. Your decision budget is the amount of mental energy available for important decisions each day. Track roughly how many major decisions you make and notice their timing. When important decisions such as strategic career moves or intense conversations require your best attention, schedule them for when your decision budget is highest, which for most people is the morning. Use rules and routines to protect your budget during low-energy times. The goal is to match your best attention to your most important decisions. Practice daily reflection with a simple set of questions each evening. Ask what went well, what drained energy, what distractions repeated, and what one small change will you make tomorrow. Keep this to 5 minutes. The discipline of daily reflection prevents blind repetition of harmful routines and builds steady improvement. The reflection must be short, actionable, and honest. Store the notes in one place and review them weekly to notice trends and progress. Use concrete targets, not vague hopes. Instead of saying, "I will focus more," say, "I will complete 2 focused blocks of 30 minutes on Project X between 9 and 11 tomorrow." Good targets are measurable, timed, and specific. They turn vague desires into testable experiments. Each day you will learn more about what works and what does not. Track the results and refine the targets. Create a simple accountability system. Tell one person what you will do and when you will do it and ask them to check in. Or use a habit tracker app and mark days when you complete the task. Accountability transforms promises into commitments. When someone else knows you are doing something, you are less likely to skip it. Choose an accountability partner who will ask clear, direct questions and who you respect rather than someone who offers only praise. Learn to tolerate small amounts of discomfort. Focus and new habits will generate friction. The mind dislikes novelty and will produce reasons to stop. Accept that discomfort is part of the training, not evidence of failure. Each time the mind protests, you have an opportunity to practice choice. Make small increments so discomfort remains manageable. A 10% increase in difficulty each week will challenge you while keeping progress sustainable. Practice the art of finishing small tasks fully. Begin and complete small tasks rather than leaving them half done. The habit of completion builds confidence and reduces the mental clutter of outstanding items. Use a timer to finish and then close the task physically by clearing the materials, saving the file, and writing a one-sentence summary of what remains, if anything. Closing tasks reduces cognitive load and frees attention for the next priority. Use a weekly planning session to shape the week. Spend 30 minutes on a chosen day to list top outcomes for the week, assign time blocks, and set one priority for each day. This session creates a map that reduces reactive behavior and helps protect focus for important work. During the weekly plan, include a recovery block for rest and margin for interruptions. Planning is not rigid scheduling, it is intentional design that increases your chance of reaching important outcomes. Practice the method of small experiments. Treat new habits as experiments to be tested rather than moral statements about who you are. Choose a habit, state the conditions, and measure the outcome. For example, test no phone for the first hour for 7 days and measure mood and productivity each morning. Experiments provide data and reduce shame when a habit fails. Adjust the hypothesis and run another experiment. Over time, experiments accumulate into reliable routines. Strengthen focus through physical care. Sleep, nutrition, movement, and hydration directly impact attention. Protect sleep by setting a regular bedtime, avoid screens close to sleep, and keep the room cool and dark. Eat foods that support steady energy and avoid heavy sugar spikes that lead to afternoon crashes. Move in short bursts during breaks to restore circulation and clarity. The body and mind operate as a system, and small physical improvements yield immediate attention benefits. Practice mental rehearsal for difficult tasks. Before beginning a demanding activity, spend 2 minutes imagining the sequence of steps and how you will handle common interruptions or difficult emotions. Imagine the first 10 minutes of the session in detail and the first sentence you will say or the first keystrokes you will type. Mental rehearsal reduces anxiety and speeds the start of focused work. It is a practical tool used by performers and professionals to reduce start friction. Use the rule of 2 yes choices each day for discretionary activities. Allow 2 yes moments for enjoyable, low-importance activities outside necessary work. This creates a limited escape valve that reduces the lure of constant distraction. Keep the yes choices short and planned, and do not allow them to expand unnoticed. The rule of 2 keeps pleasure available without letting it dominate focus and progress. Regularly re-examine your identity language. Replace vague labels with active descriptions that align with practice. Instead of saying, "I am not a morning person," say, "I practice a morning anchor, and I am building a habit of starting with focused work." Identity language matters because it shapes what you choose to do and how you interpret success and failure. Choose language that points to practice and growth rather than fixed traits. Use short writing as a thinking tool. 5 minutes of focused writing about the most important problem clarifies the mind. Use a prompt such as, "What is the smallest step that moves this forward?" or "What is the one question worth asking about this project?" Free writing reveals hidden assumptions and brings clarity. Do this before heavy decision-making or when you feel stuck. Plan for setbacks and decide in advance how you will recover. Write a short recovery plan that says, "If I miss my morning anchor, I will accept it and do a 10-minute focus block before lunch." If the plan is laced with judgment, you will resist it. Make the recovery plan practical and immediate. Practice recovery early, and the mind learns that mistakes are temporary interruptions, not reason to quit. Practice gratitude and recognition without praise for outcomes. At the end of the day, name one small, steady action you took and one way the day taught you something useful. This grounds progress in process rather than result. Recognition of the small actions builds motivation and keeps attention on things under your control. Use a sensory cue to begin focus. A single action such as lighting a small lamp, closing a curtain, or placing a specific object on the desk becomes a reliable cue to start work. Repeating the cue builds an association that reduces the decision overhead of starting. Keep the cue simple and consistent. Adopt the principle of less but better. Choose fewer objectives and pursue them with intensity. Spread thinner across many goals results in scattered attention and shallow progress. Commit to 1 to 3 high-value outcomes and invest focused time on them each day. Depth creates progress and attention multiplies results. Practice weekly reflection on your habit metrics, not moral evaluations. Record how many focused blocks were completed, how many interruptions occurred, and how you felt during the blocks. Use the data to adjust context, rules, routines, and the environment. This practice removes emotion from assessment and allows clear decisions about what to change. Keep compassion for the process. Training attention is demanding and repeated failures are part of mastery. Avoid harsh self-talk and focus on the immediate next step. Speak to yourself as you would a close friend who wants to grow. This tone supports resilience and keeps motivation steady. A sample day that integrates these principles begins with a short anchor upon waking, followed by 2 focused blocks for the most important work, protected by rules that block email and social media, and punctuated with grounding routines when emotions rise. After a midday recovery and physical movement, there is a planning check-in and an afternoon single-task session with a clear transition ritual between work and rest. Evening reflection summarizes wins and notes 1 small experimental change for tomorrow. Repeat this pattern with small adjustments each week and progress becomes measurable. A practical 30-day plan moves in small steps. Week 1, establish the morning anchor and track distractions. Week 2, add 2 focused blocks and a grounding routine for interruptions. Week 3, experiment with a rule that eliminates a major distraction and test its effect. Week 4, refine the rule and institute a weekly planning and review session. Keep changes small and build on success. Short scripts to use immediately include the following. When the phone buzzes, glance at it only after finishing the current focus block. When a strong thought arises, write 1 line on the notepad and return to the task. When energy drops, stand up, take 2 minutes to walk, and then return for a short burst. When the mind resists, start with the micro-habit for 2 minutes and allow continuation if momentum appears. A practical tool list that supports the work includes a simple physical timer, a plain notebook, a pen, a comfortable chair, a lamp, and a small object to serve as the sensory cue. Limit apps and gadgets to essentials that support focused work and avoid those that notify automatically. Use airplane mode during deep sessions and schedule connection windows. Measure progress by asking 3 questions at the end of each week. How many focused blocks were completed? What small rule changed my behavior most? What will I drop or add next week? These questions produce a rhythm of small wins, continuous learning, and incremental refinement. The most important truth is this: control over the inner world is not about perfect concentration or permanent elimination of distraction. It is about building reliable processes that allow attention to be reclaimed and used repeatedly. Training focus is similar to strengthening a muscle through repetition, progressive overload, and rest. Each focused block, each small rule, each recovery plan, and each reflection session compounds into a greater capacity to act with intention. Honor the discipline of starting small and keep attention on practice, not identity. The daily anchor, the short, focused blocks, the grounding routine, and the weekly reflection are not tests of worth. They are tools that enable steady progress. Routine does not kill life, it frees energy so that you can invest it in what truly matters. Begin now with a 2-minute action that points toward control. Sit for 2 slow, deep breaths. Notice 1 thing you want to complete today. Choose the smallest step toward it and start a 25-minute focus block. If the 25 minutes stretches to 1 hour, excellent. If it stops at 5 minutes, still valuable because you moved the inner world through action. Every day is an opportunity to rewrite small patterns. Over time, those small changes build a different life. You will not be a different person overnight, but you will be a person who chooses more often to act intentionally. The steady accumulation of focused habit will alter relationships, decisions, and opportunities. The first hour of your day becomes the first hour of your new life. Chapter 2:1 Cultivate emotional resilience through consistent reflection and small steps. Life will not move according to personal plans every day. Some days will bring success and progress, while other days will bring setbacks, confusion, and emotional pressure. The difference between people who grow stronger through life and those who feel defeated often comes down to one skill. That skill is emotional resilience. Emotional resilience is the ability to remain steady when circumstances become difficult. It is the ability to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. It is the strength to recover after disappointment and continue moving forward with calm determination. Emotional resilience is not something people are born with in perfect form. It is a skill that develops through daily practice. Just like physical strength grows through repeated training, emotional strength grows through reflection, awareness, and small disciplined actions. The goal is not to remove all negative emotions. That is unrealistic and unnecessary. The goal is to understand emotions, manage them, and prevent them from controlling decisions and behavior. Every emotion carries information. Frustration often signals that expectations were not met. Fear can signal uncertainty about the future. Anger may signal that a boundary was crossed or that something important feels threatened. When emotions appear, the first useful step is awareness. Instead of pushing emotions away, pause for a moment and notice what is happening inside your mind and body. Notice the tightness in the chest, the quick breathing, the racing thoughts, or the sudden urge to react quickly. Awareness creates a small space between the emotion and the response. Inside that space lies the power to choose a better action. Many people attempt to ignore difficult emotions. They distract themselves with constant entertainment or endless activity. This may create temporary relief, but the emotion remains unresolved and returns later with greater intensity. Emotional resilience requires facing emotions with honesty. This does not mean becoming overwhelmed by them. It means observing them calmly and asking simple questions. What caused this feeling? What expectation was not met? What lesson might exist in this experience? Reflection becomes the tool that transforms emotional experiences into growth. Set aside a few minutes at the end of each day to review what happened during the day. Think about moments when emotions became strong. Ask yourself what triggered the reaction and how you responded. This simple habit creates awareness that slowly strengthens emotional control. Over time, you begin to recognize patterns. Certain situations, certain conversations, or certain thoughts may repeatedly create emotional reactions. Once patterns become visible, you gain the ability to prepare better responses. When reflecting, avoid harsh judgment toward yourself. Emotional growth requires patience. If you criticize yourself for every emotional reaction, you will create more frustration instead of progress. Instead, treat each moment as information. A calm review of experiences builds understanding, while self-criticism creates resistance. Small steps create lasting emotional resilience. Large, dramatic changes rarely last because they demand too much energy at once. Progress happens through consistent small improvements. For example, practice pausing before responding during emotional moments. When someone says something upsetting, take one slow breath before speaking. That small pause can prevent words that cause regret later. The pause also allows your mind to choose a response based on reason instead of impulse. Another powerful step is learning to separate facts from interpretations. A situation happens, and the mind quickly creates a story about what it means. Someone may not reply to a message quickly, and the mind may assume rejection or disrespect. In reality, many other explanations may exist. Emotional resilience grows when you question automatic interpretations and examine the facts carefully. Ask yourself what actually happened and what assumptions you may be adding. Building resilience also requires managing physical state. The body and mind operate together. Lack of sleep, poor nutrition, and constant stress reduce emotional stability. Simple physical care strengthens emotional control. Prioritize consistent sleep. Drink enough water during the day. Move your body regularly even if the movement is brief. These actions support mental clarity and emotional balance. Another important habit is writing thoughts during difficult moments. When emotions feel overwhelming, write down what you are thinking and feeling. Writing slows the mind and organizes scattered thoughts. Seeing emotions on paper allows distance from them. Often the intensity of an emotion decreases simply because it has been expressed clearly. Writing also helps identify irrational thoughts that appear convincing in the moment. Emotional resilience also grows when people focus on what they can control. Many frustrations come from attempting to control events, people, or outcomes that are outside personal influence. A more productive approach is to direct attention toward actions and attitudes that remain within personal control. You cannot control every external situation, but you can control effort, preparation, and response. When challenges occur, ask a simple question. What action can I take right now that moves me slightly forward? The action may be small, such as gathering information, making a plan, or improving one's skill. The action does not need to solve the entire problem immediately. Progress often begins with small forward steps that create momentum. Another key element of resilience is acceptance of temporary discomfort. Growth rarely occurs inside complete comfort. Difficult conversations, demanding work, and unexpected problems create emotional pressure. Instead of avoiding these experiences, practice remaining present within them. Notice the feeling of discomfort without immediately escaping from it. Over time, the mind learns that discomfort is temporary and manageable. Supportive relationships also strengthen emotional resilience. Speaking with someone who listens carefully can provide perspective that reduces emotional intensity. Choose people who encourage responsibility and growth rather than constant complaint. Conversations with thoughtful individuals can reveal solutions that are difficult to see alone. Gratitude practices also influence emotional balance. At the end of each day, identify a few positive experiences, no matter how small they may seem. A productive conversation, a moment of progress, or a peaceful walk can shift attention away from constant negativity. This practice trains the mind to notice opportunities and strengths even during challenging periods. Learning from mistakes becomes another pillar of emotional resilience. Everyone experiences failure or poor decisions at times. The key difference lies in the response after the mistake. Some individuals replay the failure repeatedly with regret, while others analyze the situation calmly and identify lessons. Treat mistakes as feedback. Ask what could be done differently next time and apply the insight immediately. Progress in emotional resilience will not always feel dramatic. Often it appears as quiet improvements. A conversation that once created anger may now create calm discussion. A setback that once caused days of frustration may now pass within hours. These small shifts represent real growth. They indicate that emotional responses are becoming more balanced and thoughtful. Another useful practice involves preparing the mind before entering stressful situations. If you expect a difficult meeting or challenging task, spend a few minutes imagining how you will respond calmly. Picture yourself listening carefully, speaking clearly, and maintaining composure, even if others become emotional. Mental preparation strengthens confidence and reduces reactive behavior. Daily routines also support emotional stability. Consistent morning and evening habits provide structure that anchors the mind. When life becomes chaotic, routines offer a sense of order and control. Even simple routines such as reading for a few minutes each morning or taking a short walk each evening can create emotional grounding. Another helpful practice is limiting exposure to unnecessary negativity. Constant consumption of distressing news, arguments, or online conflict can weaken emotional resilience. Choose information sources carefully and give the mind periods of quiet without constant stimulation. A calm mind processes emotions more effectively. Remember that emotional resilience does not mean suppressing feelings. Emotions are part of being human. Resilience means feeling emotions without allowing them to dictate behavior. It means responding with awareness, discipline, and thoughtful choice. With practice, emotions become signals that guide understanding rather than forces that control actions. Each day offers opportunities to strengthen this ability. A stressful moment becomes a chance to practice patience. A disagreement becomes a chance to practice calm communication. A disappointment becomes a chance to practice reflection and learning. Viewed this way, life becomes a training ground for emotional strength. The process requires consistency rather than perfection. Some days emotions will still rise quickly. That is normal. The important step is returning to reflection, learning from the moment, and continuing forward. Each reflection session, each thoughtful pause, and each small improvement strengthens emotional resilience. Over months and years, these practices reshape the inner world. Situations that once felt overwhelming begin to feel manageable. Confidence grows because you trust your ability to respond wisely even under pressure. This inner stability creates freedom. When emotions are understood and guided by reason, life becomes clearer and more purposeful. Cultivating emotional resilience through reflection and small steps builds a foundation for every other form of success. Decisions become wiser, relationships become healthier, and challenges become opportunities for growth. The person who masters emotional resilience gains something more valuable than temporary comfort. That person gains steady strength that remains present through every phase of life. Chapter 3c. Build mental clarity by simplifying choices and practicing mindful routines. Mental clarity is the quiet strength that allows a person to think clearly, make wise decisions, and move through life with calm direction. When the mind is crowded with too many choices, constant noise, and endless distractions, it becomes difficult to focus on what truly matters. Many people struggle not because they lack intelligence or motivation, but because their attention is scattered in too many directions. The mind becomes overwhelmed with options, tasks, and information. Clarity does not come from adding more complexity. Clarity comes from simplifying choices and building routines that guide attention toward meaningful action. Every day, people face hundreds of small decisions: what to eat, when to check messages, what task to start first, how to spend free time, and how to respond to countless notifications. Each decision consumes mental energy. When these decisions accumulate throughout the day, the mind becomes tired and less capable of thoughtful judgment. Important decisions then suffer because attention has already been drained by smaller choices. Mental clarity begins with reducing the number of unnecessary decisions. One simple practice involves deciding certain things in advance. Prepare clothing for the next day during the evening. Plan meals earlier in the week. Create a consistent morning routine that follows the same sequence each day. These actions remove small choices that otherwise consume energy during busy moments. When routines handle ordinary decisions, the mind becomes free to focus on more important matters. Another useful step involves identifying priorities clearly. Without clear priorities, every task appears equally urgent and the mind becomes confused about where to begin. Write down 3 meaningful outcomes you want to move forward today. These outcomes should represent actions that genuinely improve your life, work, or relationships. When the day begins, direct your effort toward these outcomes before allowing smaller tasks to take control of your schedule. This approach gives the mind a clear direction and reduces the feeling of chaos. Mental clutter often comes from unfinished tasks and scattered commitments. When too many projects remain open, the mind constantly jumps between them, searching for resolution. This creates tension and reduces concentration. To restore clarity, create a simple list of tasks that require attention. Review the list and decide which items truly deserve effort. Some tasks may be unnecessary and can be removed completely. Others may require delegation or scheduling for a later time. Clearing this mental inventory reduces the burden carried by the mind. Practicing mindful routines strengthens clarity even further. A mindful routine is a repeated action performed with awareness and intention. It may involve quiet reading each morning, a short walk during the afternoon, or a moment of reflection before sleep. These routines act as anchors that bring attention back to the present moment. When practiced regularly, they create stability within the mind. During mindful routines, focus on simple physical sensations and surroundings. Notice the feeling of your feet touching the ground while walking. Notice the rhythm of breathing while sitting quietly. Notice the sounds present in the environment without trying to change them. This awareness trains the mind to stay present instead of constantly drifting toward past worries or future concerns. Over time, this practice improves concentration during work and decision-making. Clarity also improves when the environment becomes organized and supportive. A cluttered space often leads to a cluttered mind. Look around the area where you spend the most time working or thinking. Remove objects that serve no useful purpose. Keep only the tools required for the task at hand. An orderly environment reduces visual distractions and helps the brain maintain focus on meaningful activity. Technology can either support clarity or destroy it depending on how it is used. Constant alerts, messages, and endless streams of information create a fragmented mental state. Instead of reacting to every notification, create specific times for checking messages and updates. Outside these times, keep devices silent or placed away from immediate reach. This simple boundary protects mental space for deeper thinking. Another important habit is learning to pause before making decisions. When faced with a choice, many people rush toward the first available option. This rushed behavior often leads to regret or unnecessary complications. A short pause allows the mind to evaluate options calmly. Ask a few clear questions before deciding. Does this action support my priorities? Does it improve my situation in a meaningful way? Is there a simpler option that achieves the same result? These questions guide decisions toward clarity rather than impulse. Mindful breathing is another powerful tool for maintaining mental balance. Whenever thoughts become scattered, pause and take several slow breaths. Focus attention on the sensation of air entering and leaving the body. This simple exercise calms the nervous system and resets mental focus. Even a short breathing pause can restore clarity during a stressful moment. Writing thoughts on paper also improves understanding. When ideas remain only in the mind, they often feel confusing or overwhelming. Writing organizes these thoughts into clear statements. If you feel uncertain about a problem, spend several minutes writing everything you know about the situation. Include possible solutions, questions, and concerns. Seeing the information in written form often reveals the next logical step. Clarity grows stronger when individuals learn to say no to distractions that do not align with their purpose. Many opportunities may appear interesting, but not all of them contribute to long-term growth. Accepting every invitation, every project, or every request spreads attention too thin. Choosing carefully protects the time and energy required for meaningful work. Another valuable practice is reviewing the day before sleep. Spend a few quiet minutes reflecting on the decisions made and the actions taken. Notice moments when clarity guided your choices and moments when confusion appeared. This reflection strengthens awareness and prepares the mind to improve the next day. Gradually, decisions become more thoughtful because the mind learns from previous experiences. Physical well-being also plays an important role in mental clarity. A tired body struggles to support clear thinking. Consistent sleep, proper nutrition, and regular movement keep the brain functioning effectively. Even short periods of physical activity during the day refresh the mind and improve concentration. Mindful routines can also include moments of learning. Reading thoughtful material, listening to meaningful discussions, or studying new skills stimulates the mind in a constructive way. Learning encourages curiosity and expands perspective. A curious mind remains active and engaged instead of becoming trapped in repetitive thought patterns. Another powerful way to simplify choices involves establishing personal principles. Principles act as guiding rules that shape decisions. For example, you may decide to prioritize honesty, patience, and responsibility in every interaction. When a difficult situation arises, these principles provide immediate guidance. Instead of analyzing endless options, you can simply ask whether the decision aligns with your principles. Mental clarity also grows through patience. The mind does not transform instantly. Building clear thinking habits requires consistent effort. Some days distractions will still appear and confusion may arise. When this happens, return calmly to the practices that support clarity. Simplify choices, follow routines, breathe slowly, and continue moving forward. Over time, these practices reshape how the mind processes information. Instead of reacting to every stimulus, the mind learns to observe carefully and respond deliberately. Decisions become easier because priorities remain clear. Stress decreases because attention remains focused on actions within personal control. Clarity also brings confidence. When you know what matters most, you spend less energy worrying about outside opinions or temporary setbacks. Your actions follow purpose rather than impulse. This sense of direction creates stability that influences every area of life, including work, relationships, and personal growth. The inner world becomes quieter when choices become simpler and routines guide daily behavior. A quiet mind is not empty. It is focused, balanced, and ready to respond wisely to challenges. In that quiet space, creativity improves, judgment strengthens, and emotional balance grows stronger. Each day offers a chance to practice these habits again. Simplify one decision, organize one space, follow one mindful routine, and pause for one moment of awareness. These small actions gradually build powerful mental clarity. With clarity comes the ability to lead your life with intention rather than confusion. When the mind becomes clear, the path forward appears naturally. Actions align with purpose. Energy flows toward meaningful work. The inner world becomes steady and calm, even when the outside world remains unpredictable. Through simplified choices and mindful routines, you build a mind that supports thoughtful living, strong decisions, and lasting personal growth. Chapter 4a. Strengthen self-discipline with clear rules and daily accountability methods. Self-discipline is the quiet force that allows a person to act according to purpose instead of momentary feelings. Many people believe discipline requires constant motivation or extreme willpower. In reality, discipline grows from structure, clear rules, and consistent accountability. When a person builds systems that guide daily behavior, the need for constant motivation becomes much smaller. Discipline then becomes a habit rather than a struggle. Every person experiences moments when energy feels low or when comfort seems more attractive than effort. During these moments, decisions guided only by feelings often lead to delay and regret. Clear rules remove much of this internal debate. A rule is a simple decision made in advance about how you will act in a certain situation. Because the decision has already been made, there is no need to negotiate with yourself in the moment. Consider how rules work in everyday life. If you decide that you will wake up at a specific time each morning, the alarm becomes a signal to act rather than a suggestion to consider. When a rule exists, the mind wastes less time discussing whether the action should happen. The rule provides direction, and the body simply follows the instruction. This approach creates stability in daily behavior. Rules must remain simple and practical. Complicated systems often collapse because they demand too much effort to maintain. Choose a few rules that directly support the life you want to build. One rule may involve starting work at the same time each day. Another rule may involve dedicating a specific amount of time to learning or physical activity. The purpose of rules is not to create restriction, but to protect the actions that build progress. When creating rules, begin by identifying the habits that produce the greatest improvement in your life. Focus on actions that support health, learning, relationships, and meaningful work. Once these habits are identified, create rules that protect them. For example, you may establish a rule that reading for personal growth happens every evening before sleep. Another rule may require completing an important task before opening social media or entertainment. Consistency strengthens discipline. When a rule is followed repeatedly, it becomes part of daily rhythm. At first, the action may require effort. After many repetitions, the behavior begins to feel natural. Discipline then shifts from forced behavior to automatic habit. The key is persistence during the early stage when the mind still searches for excuses. Accountability strengthens this process even further. Accountability means creating a system where your actions are visible and measurable. When progress is tracked clearly, it becomes easier to remain honest about your behavior. Many people abandon goals because no one notices whether the effort happens or not. Accountability removes this invisibility. A simple accountability method involves tracking habits each day. Use a notebook or simple chart to mark whether a rule was followed. The act of recording progress creates awareness. Each mark on the page represents a promise kept. Over time, the growing record of consistency builds pride and motivation to continue. Another powerful form of accountability involves sharing goals with a trusted person. This person does not need to supervise every action. Their role is to ask honest questions about your progress. Knowing that someone will ask about your efforts encourages greater responsibility. Choose someone who values growth and who will encourage discipline without judgment. Daily reflection also plays an important role in accountability. At the end of the day, spend several minutes reviewing your actions. Ask whether your rules were followed and where improvements could occur. This practice develops self-honesty. Instead of ignoring mistakes, you learn from them and adjust your approach. It is important to understand that discipline is not destroyed by occasional mistakes. Everyone experiences days when rules are broken. The key difference between disciplined individuals and those who struggle lies in the response to these moments. When a mistake occurs, acknowledge it calmly and return to the rule immediately the next day. Avoid allowing one failure to become an excuse for abandoning the system completely. Clear rules also reduce emotional decision-making. Many choices that appear difficult in the moment become simple when guided by predetermined standards. For example, if a rule states that certain hours of the day are reserved for focused work, distractions become easier to reject. The rule already defines the correct action. Another benefit of rules involves reducing mental fatigue. When behavior follows structured patterns, the brain spends less energy deciding what to do next. This preserved energy becomes available for creativity, problem solving, and meaningful interaction. Discipline therefore increases productivity, not through pressure, but through efficiency. Accountability can also involve measuring results rather than only actions. For example, you may track the number of pages studied, the number of training sessions completed, or the number of hours dedicated to a project each week. Measuring results provides clear feedback about whether your efforts produce the desired outcomes. Reward systems can also support discipline when used wisely. After completing a planned task, allow yourself a small, enjoyable activity such as relaxation or personal entertainment. This positive reinforcement encourages the mind to associate disciplined behavior with satisfaction rather than burden. The reward should remain moderate so that it supports discipline rather than replacing it. Another powerful approach involves removing common obstacles before they appear. If distractions regularly interfere with your work, remove them from the environment during focused periods. If unhealthy habits occur during certain times of day, create alternative routines that occupy those moments with productive activity. Preparing the environment strengthens discipline because it reduces the need for constant resistance. Physical health also influences discipline strongly. Adequate sleep, balanced nutrition, and regular movement provide the energy required to maintain consistent habits. When the body becomes exhausted, the mind struggles to maintain commitment. Caring for physical well-being therefore supports mental strength. Morning routines provide an excellent opportunity to practice discipline. Starting the day with intentional actions, such as reading, planning, or physical movement, establishes momentum that carries into later tasks. When the first decisions of the day reflect discipline, the mind becomes more likely to continue similar behavior throughout the day. Evening routines also contribute to accountability. Before sleep, review what was accomplished and prepare for the following day. Writing down tasks or priorities removes uncertainty from the morning and helps maintain consistency in action. Self-discipline also benefits from strong personal values. When actions align with deeply held values, commitment becomes easier to maintain. Reflect on why your goals matter. Understanding the purpose behind discipline strengthens resolve during challenging moments. Patience remains essential throughout this process. Discipline develops gradually through repeated practice. Expect progress to occur over weeks and months rather than instantly. Each day that you follow your rules strengthens the habit of keeping promises to yourself. Over time, these consistent actions reshape identity. You begin to see yourself as a person who follows through on commitments. This identity creates internal confidence. When challenges appear, you trust your ability to respond with persistence rather than avoidance. Clear rules combined with daily accountability create a powerful structure for personal growth. Instead of relying on unpredictable motivation, you rely on systems that guide behavior consistently. These systems transform good intentions into reliable actions. Through discipline, the inner world becomes stable and directed. Choices align with purpose rather than impulse. Time is used wisely. Progress becomes visible. Life begins to reflect deliberate effort instead of random reaction. Each rule followed, each task recorded, and each day reviewed strengthens this ability. Gradually, discipline becomes part of your character. When this happens, you no longer wonder whether you will take action. You simply move forward with quiet determination, guided by the standards you have chosen for your life. Chapter 50. Practice emotional regulation using breath work, thought checks, and pauses. Every human being experiences powerful emotions. Anger, frustration, fear, disappointment, and stress appear in daily life without warning. These emotions are natural responses to events, situations, and interactions with others. The problem does not come from the emotion itself. The problem begins when emotion controls behavior without awareness or guidance. Emotional regulation is the ability to experience feelings while still choosing thoughtful actions. When this ability becomes strong, the mind remains steady even during difficult moments. Many people attempt to control emotions by ignoring them or pushing them away. This approach rarely works for long. Suppressed feelings often return with greater intensity. Emotional regulation follows a different path. It teaches a person to observe emotions calmly, understand their signals, and guide responses through deliberate actions. 3 practical tools help build this ability. These tools include controlled breathing, thoughtful examination of inner dialogue, and deliberate pauses before reacting. Breathing influences emotional state more than many people realize. When the body experiences stress, the breath becomes short and rapid. This physical change signals the nervous system to remain in a state of alertness. The mind then becomes restless and reactive. Slowing the breath sends the opposite signal. A steady breath tells the body that danger has passed and the mind can return to balance. Controlled breathing can be practiced at any moment during the day. When tension appears, bring attention to the movement of air entering the nose and leaving the body. Take a slow breath and allow the lungs to fill completely. Hold the breath briefly, then release it slowly. Repeat this pattern several times. During this process, focus only on the physical sensation of breathing. Notice the movement of the chest and the gentle rhythm created by each breath. After a few cycles, the body begins to relax. The heart rate slows and the mind gains a moment of stillness. This simple exercise does not remove the situation that caused the emotion. Instead, it creates a space where the mind can examine the situation more clearly. In this space, better decisions become possible. Breath awareness also helps during conversations that produce emotional tension. When someone speaks words that trigger irritation or anger, the natural reaction is to respond quickly. A few controlled breaths can interrupt that impulse. While the other person speaks, direct attention towards slow breathing. This quiet practice prevents emotional escalation and allows the mind to listen carefully before responding. The second tool for emotional regulation involves examining thoughts that appear during emotional moments. Thoughts often amplify feelings without being fully accurate. For example, a single criticism may lead the mind to assume complete failure. A small mistake may lead to thoughts of inadequacy. These thoughts appear automatically and can quickly intensify negative emotions. Thought checking means observing these mental reactions and evaluating their accuracy. When an upsetting thought appears, pause and ask simple questions. Is this thought based on clear evidence? Am I assuming the worst outcome without proof? Is there another explanation for the situation? These questions encourage the mind to move from emotional interpretation toward rational evaluation. Often the initial thought proves exaggerated or incomplete. Recognizing this reduces emotional intensity. The goal is not to force positive thinking, but to replace distorted thoughts with balanced understanding. Balanced thinking allows emotions to settle while maintaining realistic awareness of the situation. Writing thoughts on paper can support this process. During moments of stress, write down the thoughts moving through the mind. Seeing them written provides distance and clarity. Many thoughts that seem powerful inside the mind appear less convincing when placed on paper. This simple practice turns confusion into organized reflection. The third tool involves deliberate pauses. Emotional reactions often occur within seconds. A comment from another person or an unexpected event can trigger immediate responses. Words may be spoken quickly and actions taken without careful consideration. Later regret may appear when the emotion has already passed. A pause interrupts this chain of reaction. When strong emotion rises, take a brief moment before speaking or acting. Even a pause lasting only a few seconds creates an opportunity for reflection. During this moment, observe what you feel and return attention to breathing. Ask what response would represent calm judgment rather than emotional impulse. Pauses can also be used when receiving unexpected news. Instead of responding instantly, take a short moment to absorb the information. This pause prevents exaggerated reactions and allows thoughtful evaluation of the situation. Over time, this habit becomes stronger. The mind learns that emotional reactions do not require immediate action. Instead, emotions become signals that encourage observation and careful response. This shift transforms emotional experiences from sources of chaos into opportunities for wisdom. Emotional regulation also improves when individuals develop awareness of personal triggers. Certain situations consistently create strong reactions. These triggers may involve criticism, pressure, time constraints, or disagreements. By identifying triggers in advance, you prepare the mind to respond calmly when they appear. Reflection at the end of each day helps reveal these patterns. Think about moments when emotions became intense. Consider what event or thought started the reaction. Understanding these patterns allows preparation for future situations. Preparation strengthens confidence because the mind expects the challenge rather than feeling surprised by it. Physical awareness supports emotional regulation as well. Emotions often create physical signals such as muscle tension, rapid breathing, or restlessness. Learning to notice these signals early allows quicker intervention. When the body shows signs of stress, begin controlled breathing or take a short break before emotions grow stronger. Another helpful practice involves changing physical environment during intense emotional states. A brief walk outside or a few minutes of quiet space can reset the nervous system. Movement shifts attention away from the source of tension and provides time for reflection. Communication skills also influence emotional control. When expressing concerns or disagreements, use clear and respectful language. Speak about specific actions rather than attacking a person's character. Calm communication reduces conflict and prevents emotional escalation during difficult conversations. Sleep and physical care also influence emotional balance. Fatigue reduces patience and increases irritability. Adequate rest helps the brain regulate emotions more effectively. Balanced meals and hydration support stable energy levels, which also influence mood and mental clarity. Practicing gratitude can also support emotional balance. Taking time to recognize positive experiences shifts attention away from constant focus on problems. Gratitude does not ignore difficulties, but reminds the mind that positive aspects of life remain present. Another useful habit involves limiting exposure to unnecessary emotional triggers. Continuous exposure to stressful news arguments or online conflict can overload the mind. Choosing when and how to engage with information protects emotional stability. It is important to understand that emotional regulation is not about becoming emotionless. Emotions provide valuable information about needs, values, and experiences. The goal is to guide emotions rather than eliminate them. When emotions are understood, they can support wise decisions and meaningful relationships. Progress in emotional regulation occurs gradually. At first, the mind may remember these tools only after a reaction has already occurred. With practice, awareness appears earlier and earlier. Eventually, the breath pause and thought check become natural responses during emotional moments. Each practice strengthens the ability to remain calm in situations that once felt overwhelming. Conversations become more productive because reactions are thoughtful rather than impulsive. Challenges feel manageable because the mind approaches them with steady attention. Through consistent practice, breathing becomes a source of calm. Thought checks become a path toward clarity, and pauses become opportunities for wisdom. These simple tools reshape how emotions influence daily life. When emotional regulation becomes strong, the inner world remains balanced even when external events become uncertain. The mind no longer reacts to every impulse. Instead, it observes, understands, and chooses actions that reflect patience, discipline, and thoughtful awareness. This quiet mastery creates strength that supports every aspect of personal growth and purposeful living. Chapter 6. Design supportive environments that remove friction and encourage success habits. Success is often described as the result of discipline, effort, and determination. These qualities are important, but another powerful factor quietly shapes behavior every day. That factor is the environment surrounding you. The environment includes the physical space where you live and work, the objects you interact with, the people you spend time with, and the digital spaces that fill your attention. When the environment supports positive habits, progress becomes easier and more natural. When the environment creates friction, even simple goals begin to feel difficult. Many people attempt to change their lives only through internal motivation. They promise themselves that they will work harder, resist distractions, and maintain stronger discipline. While motivation can help for short periods, it often fades when challenges appear. A supportive environment reduces the need for constant struggle. It quietly guides behavior toward productive actions without requiring repeated mental effort. Consider how small environmental details influence daily choices. If unhealthy food is always visible on a table, it becomes easier to eat without thinking. If a phone constantly displays notifications, attention becomes fragmented throughout the day. If a workspace contains clutter and unnecessary items, concentration becomes difficult. These examples show how surroundings shape behavior even when intentions remain strong. Designing a supportive environment begins with observation. Look carefully at the spaces where you spend most of your time. Notice the objects within reach, the sounds in the background, and the visual distractions that compete for attention. Ask whether these elements encourage the habits you want to develop, or whether they encourage avoidance and distraction. Honest observation often reveals simple adjustments that can create meaningful improvement. One of the most effective changes involves removing obstacles that prevent positive actions. When useful habits require too much effort, they often get postponed or ignored. For example, if exercise equipment is hidden in a storage area, it becomes easier to skip physical activity. If a book you intend to read remains buried under other items, you may forget about it completely. Placing helpful tools in visible and accessible locations reduces friction and increases the likelihood of action. At the same time, it is helpful to increase the distance between yourself and habits that interfere with progress. If constant social media browsing interrupts work, consider moving those applications away from the main screen of your device. If certain snacks disrupt healthy eating, place them in a location that requires extra effort to reach. Increasing the effort required for unhelpful behaviors reduces their frequency without demanding constant willpower. Workspace design plays a powerful role in shaping focus and productivity. A clean, organized area signals the mind that it is time for purposeful work. Remove items that are not necessary for the task you intend to complete. Keep essential tools arranged in a simple and predictable manner. This clarity reduces mental noise and helps attention remain steady. Lighting and physical comfort also influence performance. A workspace with adequate light supports alertness and reduces eye strain. Comfortable seating helps maintain concentration during longer periods of work. Fresh air and moderate temperature contribute to mental clarity and overall well-being. These physical conditions may appear minor, yet they have a direct effect on how the brain processes information and maintains attention. Digital environments require equal attention. Many people underestimate how strongly digital spaces influence daily behavior. Continuous alerts and endless streams of information create a state of constant interruption. Instead of reacting to every message, create structured times for checking communication. Disable unnecessary notifications and allow the mind to focus on meaningful tasks without frequent disruption. Another valuable strategy involves using visual reminders that reinforce positive habits. Placing a notebook on a desk can encourage daily writing. Keeping a water bottle nearby can promote better hydration. Displaying a simple list of priorities can guide attention toward important goals. These reminders serve as quiet signals that direct behavior toward beneficial actions. The social environment also shapes habits strongly. The attitudes and behaviors of the people around you influence your own actions, often without conscious awareness. Spending time with individuals who value growth, responsibility, and learning encourages similar behavior. Conversations with thoughtful people introduce new ideas and perspectives that strengthen personal development. At the same time, it is wise to limit exposure to environments where negativity or distraction dominate the atmosphere. Constant complaints, criticism, or aimless activity can slowly weaken motivation and clarity. Choosing supportive social surroundings helps maintain a mindset focused on improvement. Creating designated areas for specific activities can further strengthen productive habits. A particular location for focused work signals the brain that attention should concentrate on meaningful tasks. Another area for relaxation signals the mind that it is time to recover and rest. Separating these environments helps maintain clear boundaries between effort and recovery. Routine interaction with supportive environments gradually conditions the brain. When a specific location repeatedly becomes associated with productive activity, the mind begins to enter that state more easily whenever the environment is encountered. This conditioning reduces the effort required to begin work or practice new habits. Time management also benefits from environmental design. For example, placing a visible clock in a workspace can increase awareness of how time is used. Keeping a simple planning sheet nearby can encourage thoughtful organization of tasks. These small tools guide attention toward purposeful action rather than passive drifting. Another helpful practice involves preparing environments in advance for the next day. At the end of the evening, organize materials needed for upcoming tasks. Arrange books, documents, or equipment so that beginning work the next morning becomes effortless. This preparation removes morning confusion and allows progress to start immediately. Supportive environments also encourage recovery and reflection. A quiet area for reading, thinking, or journaling provides space for mental renewal. Moments of quiet help the mind process experiences and regain clarity after demanding tasks. Without spaces dedicated to recovery, mental fatigue gradually accumulates and reduces productivity. Nature can also contribute to supportive surroundings. Exposure to natural light, fresh air, and greenery can calm the mind and restore focus. Even a short walk outdoors or a view of plants in a room can reduce stress and improve mental balance. Integrating elements of nature into daily life strengthens emotional well-being and attention. It is important to remember that environmental design does not require dramatic changes. Small adjustments often produce the greatest results. Removing a few distractions, organizing a workspace, or creating a quiet reading corner can significantly improve daily behavior. The key is consistency in maintaining these supportive conditions. Over time, these environmental choices begin to shape identity. When your surroundings consistently support positive habits, those habits gradually become part of who you are. Discipline becomes easier because the environment guides your actions in the right direction. A supportive environment acts as a silent partner in personal growth. It reduces unnecessary struggle and allows your energy to focus on meaningful progress. Instead of constantly resisting distractions, you create conditions where productive behavior becomes the natural response. Each object you place, each boundary you set, and each space you organize becomes part of a system that encourages success. When the environment supports your values, your daily actions begin to align with your long-term goals. Through thoughtful design of physical, digital, and social environments, you remove friction that once slowed progress. In its place, you create spaces that invite focus, learning, discipline, and growth. These spaces strengthen your ability to live intentionally and move steadily toward the life you choose to build. Chapter 70: Transform Negative Beliefs Through Evidence-Based Challenges and Daily Wins. Many people move through life carrying quiet beliefs about themselves that shape every decision they make. These beliefs often develop slowly through past experiences, criticism, failure, or repeated doubt. Over time, the mind begins to accept these thoughts as permanent truth. A person may begin to believe that success is not possible, that improvement is too difficult, or that personal effort will never be enough. These beliefs can quietly limit action and reduce confidence long before a real attempt is even made. Negative beliefs do not always appear in obvious ways. Sometimes they hide inside small sentences repeated silently throughout the day. A person might think that they are not capable enough to start something new. Another person may assume that change is too late for them. These ideas seem harmless at first, but they slowly influence behavior. When the mind expects failure, it avoids effort. When the mind expects disappointment, it hesitates before taking action. Transforming these beliefs requires patience and deliberate effort. A belief cannot simply disappear because a person decides to think differently. The mind changes through evidence gathered over time. New experiences and small successes gradually replace old assumptions. This process begins with awareness. The first step is noticing the beliefs that guide your reactions. Pay attention to the thoughts that appear when facing a challenge. When an opportunity appears, or when a difficult task needs attention, listen carefully to the inner voice that responds. That voice may produce statements about ability limitations or expected outcomes. Write these thoughts down when they appear. Recording them allows you to examine them more clearly instead of allowing them to operate quietly in the background. Once these beliefs are visible, they can be examined with reason. Ask simple questions about the belief. What evidence proves that this belief is permanently true? When did this belief first appear in your life? Are there examples that contradict it? Many beliefs formed during moments of difficulty, when emotions were strong and perspective was limited. With time and experience, new evidence may exist that the mind has not yet recognized. Evidence-based challenges help weaken negative beliefs. Instead of arguing with a belief using pure optimism, collect real examples that show a different possibility. For instance, if the belief says improvement is impossible, look for situations where progress already occurred. These examples do not need to be dramatic. Even small improvements show that change is possible. Daily wins play a powerful role in this process. A daily win is a small action completed successfully that supports growth. These wins may involve learning something new, completing a task that was previously avoided, or maintaining a healthy routine. Each completed action becomes evidence that contradicts the negative belief. The size of the action is not important. What matters is the consistent pattern of effort. When the mind observes repeated proof that progress occurs through action, it begins to reconsider old assumptions. Confidence grows because the evidence appears repeatedly in everyday life. Recording daily wins strengthens this transformation. At the end of each day, write down several actions that represent progress. These actions might include finishing an assignment, solving a problem, exercising patience during a conversation, or dedicating time to learning. Over time, the record of these wins becomes powerful proof that effort leads to growth. Another helpful practice involves setting small challenges that test negative beliefs directly. Suppose the mind believes that speaking in front of others always leads to failure. A small challenge might involve sharing an idea during a small discussion or asking a question during a meeting. Completing this challenge provides new information about ability. Even if the experience feels uncomfortable, it still demonstrates that the situation can be handled. These challenges should remain manageable. Large, overwhelming tasks can reinforce fear instead of reducing it. Begin with simple steps that allow the mind to experience success gradually. Each successful step creates momentum for the next challenge. Language also influences belief transformation. Pay attention to how you describe yourself and your efforts. Statements that label ability as fixed create unnecessary limits. Replace rigid language with statements that emphasize learning and improvement. Instead of defining yourself by past outcomes, describe your actions in terms of effort and development. Patience remains essential during this process. Beliefs formed over many years rarely change quickly. The mind requires repeated exposure to new evidence before it accepts a different conclusion. Consistency in daily wins and small challenges gradually shifts perspective. Another powerful method involves learning from others who have overcome similar doubts. Reading stories of perseverance, listening to thoughtful discussions, or studying examples of growth can expand your understanding of what is possible. These examples show that many successful individuals once struggled with the same beliefs that now limit your thinking. Supportive conversations can also contribute to belief transformation. Speaking with people who encourage progress and offer constructive feedback helps challenge distorted thinking. An outside perspective often reveals strengths that are difficult to recognize alone. Reflection also strengthens the process. Regularly review the evidence you have gathered. Look at the list of daily wins and challenges completed. Notice how actions that once seemed difficult have become easier with practice. This reflection reinforces the idea that ability develops through effort and persistence. It is also important to respond calmly when setbacks occur. Occasional mistakes do not confirm negative beliefs. Instead, they provide information about areas that require more attention or practice. Treat setbacks as part of the learning process rather than proof of limitation. Gratitude and self-respect also support healthier beliefs. Recognize the effort you invest in personal growth. Appreciate the courage required to challenge old assumptions. Respect grows when you observe your own commitment to improvement. As evidence accumulates, the inner dialogue begins to change naturally. Thoughts that once predicted failure lose their influence because experience shows a different outcome. Confidence emerges not from empty encouragement, but from clear proof created through consistent effort. Over time, the mind learns that beliefs are not permanent truths. They are conclusions formed from past experiences. When new experiences provide stronger evidence, the mind updates those conclusions. This process allows growth to continue throughout life. Transforming negative beliefs opens space for possibility. Actions become guided by curiosity and determination rather than fear. Opportunities are approached with willingness to learn instead of avoidance. The inner world becomes more supportive because thoughts reflect progress instead of limitation. Each day offers another chance to collect evidence through small victories. Each challenge faced with courage becomes another piece of proof that growth remains possible. Gradually, the beliefs that once restricted your potential lose their power. Through evidence-based challenges and consistent daily wins, the mind learns a powerful lesson. Change is not only possible but inevitable when effort remains steady. This understanding replaces doubt with quiet confidence and allows you to move forward with strength, clarity, and determination. Chapter 8. Choose purpose-driven goals and break them into manageable actions. Many people feel busy throughout the day, yet still sense that their effort is not leading them toward a meaningful destination. Tasks fill the schedule, conversations fill the hours, and responsibilities demand attention, but the deeper feeling of progress remains uncertain. This experience often occurs when goals exist without a clear sense of purpose. When actions are disconnected from purpose, motivation becomes fragile and effort feels heavy. A strong life direction begins with choosing goals that are guided by purpose and then transforming those goals into simple, manageable actions that can be practiced daily. Purpose gives direction to effort. It answers the question of why a goal matters beyond temporary achievement. Without purpose, goals can become empty targets that provide short moments of satisfaction followed by confusion about what to pursue next. When a goal connects with purpose, it becomes part of a larger vision about the kind of life you want to build and the type of person you want to become. Finding purpose does not require dramatic discovery or perfect clarity from the beginning. It often begins with honest reflection about values and priorities. Consider the areas of life that truly matter to you. These may include learning, growth, service, creativity, family, health, or contribution to others. Purpose grows from these values because they represent what gives life meaning and direction. Take time to think quietly about what kind of impact you want your efforts to create. Ask yourself what improvements you want to bring into your own life and into the lives of others. Consider what type of work brings satisfaction and what activities allow you to use your strengths. These reflections gradually reveal themes that guide purposeful goals. Once purpose becomes clearer, the next step is selecting goals that align with it. A purpose-driven goal reflects a meaningful direction rather than a temporary desire. For example, learning a new skill may support personal development. Improving health may support long-term vitality and energy. Building strong relationships may support emotional well-being and connection with others. Purpose-driven goals create deeper motivation because they represent values rather than external pressure. Effort feels meaningful because it supports something larger than a simple result. However, even the most meaningful goal can feel overwhelming if it remains too large or undefined. This is where the practice of breaking goals into manageable actions becomes essential. Large goals often appear distant and difficult. When the mind sees only the full distance, it may hesitate to begin. Breaking the goal into smaller actions transforms the challenge into a series of achievable steps. Each step becomes clear and approachable. Begin by defining the long-term outcome you want to reach. Write this goal in simple language that describes the result you hope to achieve. Once the goal is written, ask what smaller milestones lead toward that outcome. These milestones represent stages of progress that move you gradually closer to completion. After identifying milestones, break each stage into specific actions that can be completed within a short period of time. Actions should be concrete and observable. For example, studying for a certain amount of time, practicing a skill, completing a project section, or scheduling an important conversation. These actions should be simple enough to begin without hesitation. Clarity in action planning reduces mental resistance. When the next step is obvious, the mind does not need to debate what to do. It simply follows the plan. Each completed action builds momentum and confidence. Progress becomes visible through the accumulation of small achievements. Another helpful strategy involves setting realistic expectations for each step. Goals should challenge growth, but remain achievable within available time and resources. Unrealistic expectations create frustration and discourage continued effort. Balanced expectations maintain steady motivation because progress feels possible. Scheduling actions also strengthens commitment. When a step receives a specific time in your daily routine, it becomes part of your structure rather than a vague intention. Planning time for meaningful work demonstrates respect for your goals and increases the likelihood that effort will occur consistently. Tracking progress adds another layer of encouragement. Recording completed actions allows you to see how small efforts accumulate into larger achievements. This visible progress reinforces motivation and reminds you that persistence leads to real improvement. Reflection also supports purposeful progress. At the end of each week, review what actions were completed and what lessons emerged during the process. Reflection helps identify which strategies work effectively and which areas require adjustment. This continuous learning improves future planning and strengthens commitment to long-term goals. Another important aspect of purposeful goals involves flexibility. Life conditions change and unexpected challenges appear. Flexibility allows you to adapt your actions while still honoring the underlying purpose of your goal. Adjusting the path does not mean abandoning the destination. It means responding wisely to circumstances while maintaining direction. Support from others can also strengthen purposeful effort. Sharing your goals with trusted individuals creates encouragement and accountability. Conversations with supportive people often provide valuable ideas and motivation during difficult stages of progress. Maintaining balance is equally important. Purpose-driven goals should enrich life rather than create constant pressure. Allow time for rest, reflection, and relationships while pursuing meaningful objectives. Balance prevents exhaustion and allows energy to remain strong over the long journey of growth. Confidence gradually develops as you witness your ability to move forward through consistent action. Each step completed confirms that progress occurs through patience and dedication. The distance between effort and achievement becomes shorter because daily actions continue to build upon one another. Purpose-driven goals also influence decision-making in other areas of life. When priorities become clear, it becomes easier to decline distractions that do not align with your direction. Time and energy become focused on activities that support meaningful outcomes. Challenges will appear during any meaningful pursuit. Moments of doubt or fatigue may arise along the way. During these times, reconnect with the purpose behind your goal. Remember the values that inspired the journey in the first place. This connection renews determination and reminds you why the effort remains worthwhile. Small actions repeated consistently have extraordinary power. A few minutes of daily learning can lead to deep knowledge over time. Regular physical activity can transform health gradually. Honest conversations practiced regularly can strengthen relationships. Progress rarely occurs through sudden, dramatic effort. It emerges through steady action sustained across many days. Purpose provides the direction, while manageable actions provide the path. Together they create a system that allows meaningful goals to move from imagination into reality. When the mind understands both the reason for the goal and the steps required to reach it, motivation becomes stable and focused. Every day presents an opportunity to take another small step forward. Each action may seem simple in isolation, but together they shape the direction of an entire life. When goals reflect purpose and actions remain clear, progress becomes not only possible but inevitable through persistence and thoughtful effort. Living with purpose-driven goals transforms the experience of effort. Work becomes meaningful rather than burdensome. Challenges become opportunities for growth rather than reasons for discouragement. The path of improvement becomes steady and rewarding because each step contributes to a life built intentionally through clarity, commitment, and purposeful action. Chapter 90. Commit to constant learning by practicing reflection, feedback, and iteration. Life constantly changes, and the people who grow strongest over time are those who remain committed to learning. Knowledge and skill are not fixed qualities that remain the same forever. They develop through curiosity, observation, and steady improvement. A person who chooses to learn continuously gains the ability to adapt, solve problems, and move forward, even when circumstances shift unexpectedly. Learning is not limited to classrooms or formal education. It occurs every day through experience, reflection, feedback, and repeated attempts to improve. Many individuals stop learning once they leave structured education. Responsibilities increase and attention moves toward routine tasks. Days become filled with familiar activities, and the mind slowly becomes comfortable with repetition. While routine provides stability, it can also prevent growth when curiosity disappears. Constant learning keeps the mind active and open. It encourages questions, exploration, and the willingness to adjust ideas when new understanding appears. One of the most powerful tools for learning is reflection. Reflection means examining experiences carefully to understand what actually happened and what lessons can be drawn from the situation. Without reflection, many experiences pass by without producing any insight. When the mind pauses to review events, it begins to notice patterns, strengths, and areas that need improvement. Reflection can be practiced simply at the end of each day. Take a few quiet minutes to review the actions and decisions that shaped the day. Think about what went well and what created difficulty. Ask yourself why certain choices led to positive results while others produced challenges. This calm review strengthens awareness and allows valuable lessons to emerge. Writing reflections can deepen the learning process. When thoughts are placed on paper, they become clearer and easier to examine. Writing encourages honesty and detail because the mind must organize experiences into words. Over time, these written reflections become a record of growth. Looking back at earlier entries reveals how understanding and skills have developed. Another essential element of constant learning is feedback. Feedback provides information from outside perspectives that the mind may not recognize on its own. When other people share observations about your actions, you gain access to insights that might otherwise remain hidden. Constructive feedback allows you to adjust behavior and refine skills more quickly. Receiving feedback requires humility and openness. Many people feel uncomfortable when their actions are evaluated by others. However, feedback does not exist to diminish confidence. Its purpose is to reveal opportunities for improvement. Listening carefully without immediate defensiveness allows valuable information to enter your awareness. Choose sources of feedback wisely. Seek individuals who care about growth and who communicate honestly with respect. Mentors, colleagues, teachers, or thoughtful friends often provide perspectives that expand understanding. Their experiences may highlight details you have overlooked or suggest new approaches that improve results. After reflection and feedback comes the practice of iteration. Iteration means adjusting actions based on lessons learned and then trying again with improved strategy. Learning becomes powerful when it moves beyond theory into repeated application. Each attempt builds new experience and refines understanding further. Consider how learning works in skill development. A musician practices a piece of music repeatedly while listening carefully for improvement. An athlete trains specific movements again and again while adjusting technique after each attempt. The same process applies to personal growth, professional development, and daily decision-making. Iteration transforms mistakes into valuable information. Instead of viewing errors as failure, they become signals pointing toward better solutions. Each attempt reveals details about what works and what requires adjustment. This mindset removes fear from the learning process because mistakes become expected steps rather than signs of weakness. Curiosity fuels constant learning. A curious mind asks questions about the world and seeks deeper understanding. When encountering new situations, ask why things work the way they do. Explore different viewpoints and examine problems from multiple angles. Curiosity keeps the mind engaged and prevents stagnation. Reading also plays a vital role in lifelong learning. Books provide access to knowledge, experiences, and ideas developed across many generations. Reading exposes the mind to perspectives beyond immediate surroundings. It introduces strategies, discoveries, and lessons that can be applied in everyday life. Learning conversations also expand understanding. Discussing ideas with others encourages exploration of viewpoints and reasoning. These conversations often reveal insights that cannot emerge through solitary thinking alone. Listening to different perspectives strengthens critical thinking and broadens awareness. Practicing new skills regularly reinforces learning. Knowledge becomes meaningful when applied through action. Whether learning, communication, leadership, problem-solving, or creative expression, consistent practice transforms ideas into practical ability. Setting small learning goals can help maintain steady progress. Choose areas where improvement would benefit your life or work. Dedicate time each week to studying, practicing, and reviewing those skills. Gradual improvement over time produces powerful results. Another useful practice involves teaching what you learn. Explaining ideas to others requires deep understanding. Teaching also reveals areas where knowledge remains incomplete. Sharing knowledge strengthens memory and encourages further exploration. Learning also requires patience. Mastery rarely appears quickly. Progress occurs through repeated effort and continuous adjustment. Accepting this reality removes unnecessary pressure and allows steady improvement to unfold naturally. Maintaining a beginner mindset supports this process. A beginner mindset means approaching situations with openness rather than assuming you already know everything. This attitude allows new information to enter without resistance. Even experienced individuals benefit from remembering that learning never truly ends. Technology offers many opportunities for education, but it must be used thoughtfully. Digital resources provide access to courses, lectures, and research from around the world. However, constant distraction can also weaken attention. Choose learning resources intentionally and dedicate focused time to absorbing information. Another valuable habit is reviewing progress periodically. Look back at what you have learned over the past months or years. Recognize improvements in knowledge, skill, and perspective. This review builds confidence and reinforces commitment to continued growth. Constant learning also influences character. As knowledge expands, so does understanding of the world and the people within it. This broader awareness encourages empathy, patience, and thoughtful decision-making. When learning becomes part of daily life, the mind remains active, adaptable, and resilient. Challenges become opportunities to gather information rather than reasons to feel discouraged. Each new experience depth to understanding. Reflection provides insight from past actions. Feedback introduces perspectives from others. Iteration transforms knowledge into improved behavior through repeated attempts. Together, these practices create a powerful cycle of growth that continues throughout life. Every day presents lessons waiting to be discovered. A conversation can reveal new ideas. A mistake can teach valuable correction. A success can demonstrate effective strategy. Paying attention to these lessons turns ordinary experiences into powerful education. Commitment to constant learning ensures that personal growth never stops. The world continues to change and new challenges will always appear. A learning mindset prepares you to face those challenges with confidence, curiosity, and determination. Through reflection, feedback, and thoughtful iteration, the mind evolves steadily. Knowledge deepens, skills strengthen, and understanding expands. This process allows you to build a life guided by wisdom, adaptability, and continuous improvement. Chapter 100. Lead your life intentionally by setting boundaries, routines, and priorities. Leading your life intentionally requires conscious choices rather than simply reacting to circumstances. Many people drift through days, allowing external events and other people's expectations to dictate how they spend time and energy. This approach often leaves them feeling frustrated, scattered, or unfulfilled because life is experienced as something that happens to them rather than something they actively shape. Intentional living is the practice of deciding in advance what matters most, establishing clear boundaries to protect that focus, creating consistent routines that support meaningful actions, and prioritizing tasks according to true importance. When these elements are applied consistently, your daily actions begin to reflect your values, goals, and desired identity rather than momentary distractions or external pressures. Boundaries form the foundation of intentional life. Without boundaries, energy and attention are constantly pulled in multiple directions. Setting boundaries means identifying where your time and energy should go and where they should not. This can include limiting social interactions that drain energy, reducing exposure to environments that encourage negative habits, and saying no to requests or opportunities that do not align with your values. Boundaries are not selfish acts. They are protective measures that preserve the resources necessary to live according to your priorities. Establishing boundaries requires clarity about what is important. Take time to identify areas of life that contribute most to growth, fulfillment, and well-being. This might involve family, personal development, health, professional growth, or creative expression. Once identified, boundaries can be created to safeguard these areas. For example, designating specific time blocks for focused work or study prevents interruptions from unrelated tasks. Protecting physical and mental space allows consistent progress in the domains that matter most. Routines complement boundaries by providing structure to daily life. A routine is a series of deliberate actions repeated consistently, which allows habits to form naturally. When routines are aligned with values, they remove the burden of constant decision, making and automatically guide behavior toward meaningful outcomes. For instance, starting the day with planning exercise or focused learning ensures that your energy is directed toward growth rather than reactive or trivial tasks. Creating effective routines begins with assessing how current habits align with goals. Identify actions that support desired outcomes and ensure they are included regularly. Remove or minimize habits that consume energy without producing meaningful results. Routines should be simple, achievable, and flexible enough to adapt when life changes. Overly complex routines often fail because they are difficult to maintain consistently. Consistency is essential. Routines only produce transformation when repeated over time. Even small actions, when performed daily, accumulate into significant progress. This principle applies to health, learning, relationships, and professional endeavors. Building routines that reinforce core values transforms everyday behavior into long-term growth and creates momentum toward life objectives. Priorities clarify where focus should be applied. Intentional living requires distinguishing between urgent tasks and truly important tasks. Urgency often drives distraction and stress, whereas true importance aligns with long-term goals and values. Take time to evaluate each responsibility, commitment, or opportunity, and ask whether it advances the life you want to lead. Doing so ensures that energy is applied strategically rather than reactively. One approach to managing priorities involves categorizing tasks based on impact and alignment with goals. Tasks that directly support progress deserve first attention, while lower impact or non-essential tasks may be delegated, delayed, or eliminated. Prioritization prevents the illusion of productivity that comes from simply being busy, and instead focuses energy on outcomes that shape life intentionally. Intentional leaders of their own lives also learn to make decisions proactively. This means responding to situations based on values and purpose rather than impulse or external pressure. Proactive decision-making requires awareness of personal principles and the courage to follow them, even when doing so feels uncomfortable. Over time, repeated practice of proactive choice strengthens confidence and reduces susceptibility to distractions or manipulation. Journaling and reflection reinforce intentional living. Recording daily experiences, actions, and choices provides clarity about whether life is being directed intentionally. Reflection allows recognition of patterns, identification of misalignments, and adjustment of routines, boundaries, or priorities. Without reflection, it is easy to drift back into reactive living unconsciously. Energy management is closely tied to intentional life leadership. Time alone does not guarantee progress. Energy must be available to apply effort effectively. Setting boundaries around rest, nutrition, and mental recovery ensures consistent performance. Recognizing periods of peak focus and aligning demanding tasks to those times further enhances effectiveness and prevents burnout. Intentional life leadership also involves anticipating challenges and preparing for them. Distractions, unexpected obligations, and emotional fluctuations will inevitably arise. Planning in advance how to respond preserves focus and prevents deviation from priorities. Preemptive strategies can include setting aside specific time for interruptions, establishing response protocols for common disruptions, and maintaining flexibility without sacrificing core goals. Relationships play a significant role in intentional living. People who surround themselves with supportive, motivated, and like-minded individuals create an environment that reinforces values and ambitions. Conversely, relationships that drain energy or encourage destructive habits undermine efforts. Choosing connections intentionally and maintaining boundaries around unhealthy influences ensures that interactions support rather than distract from the life you are building. Accountability strengthens intentional action. Sharing goals, routines, and priorities with trusted individuals creates external reinforcement that encourages consistent behavior. Accountability partners can provide encouragement, constructive feedback, and reminders of commitments, making it easier to follow through on decisions and maintain clarity of focus. Another essential component is flexibility balanced with discipline. Life is unpredictable and circumstances may require adjustment. Flexibility allows for adaptation without compromising purpose, routines, or priorities. Discipline ensures that adjustments are deliberate rather than reactive. Together, these qualities maintain intentional progress even in changing conditions. Intentional living cultivates resilience. When life is directed by deliberate choices, setbacks are experienced with clarity and perspective. Challenges are seen as part of the journey rather than chaotic interruptions. Boundaries, routines, and priorities create stability that enables individuals to respond effectively to difficulties while remaining aligned with their values and long-term goals. Every day presents opportunities to practice intentional leadership of life. Each decision, conversation, and action can reflect purpose and awareness. By consistently setting boundaries, following supportive routines, and prioritizing meaningfully, life gradually aligns with vision and values. Over time, these deliberate practices shape identity, habits, and outcomes in ways that reactive living never achieves. Leading life intentionally transforms experience. Instead of drifting, you create the conditions for growth, productivity, and fulfillment. Instead of reacting to circumstances, you act with purpose. Boundaries protect focus, Routines develop consistency, and priorities guide energy toward meaningful achievement. The cumulative effect of these practices is a life directed by choice rather than chance, where each day becomes an expression of deliberate effort and thoughtful leadership over your own path. When boundaries are respected, routines are followed, and priorities are honored, living intentionally becomes second nature. Decisions feel grounded, energy is applied efficiently, and progress accumulates steadily. Life becomes an outcome of conscious design, and the inner world stabilizes because actions reflect clarity, purpose, and self-directed authority. Intentional leadership of life requires vigilance, patience, and ongoing adjustment, but the rewards are profound. It creates a life where effort translates into meaningful results, challenges are met with calm determination, and daily choices consistently support the person you aspire to become. Each day becomes an opportunity to lead yourself, not merely react to what appears. Mastery of intentional living is the culmination of discipline, clarity, and deliberate action, resulting in a life fully aligned with your values, vision, and highest potential.